human mechanics specialist Corporal David Chen worked in the equipment maintenance bay of Joint Coalition Base Meridian, handling routine repairs on both human and alien military gear. Nothing glamorous, just diagnostic work, part replacements, and system calibrations. The Kyrathi battle armor came in marked as priority repair, damaged during a recent border skirmish, requiring immediate attention before its warrior could return to active duty. David logged the work order with the same professional detachment he applied to all jobs. Kyrathi armor was complex, bio-integrated systems that interfaced directly with the wearer's nervous system, but he'd worked on similar gear before. The technical manuals were thorough, and he had clearance for this level of work. The armor itself was beautiful in a utilitarian way, sleek lines designed for both protection and mobility, with neural interface ports visible along the interior surfaces. It was clearly custom-fitted, which meant he'd need to be careful not to alter the biocalibration settings. David began the standard diagnostic protocol, identifying damage to the chest plating where weapon fire had compromised both the physical armor and the underlying neural interface systems. Standard repair procedure, he muttered to himself, pulling up the relevant technical documentation. Assess structural damage, replace compromised plating, recalibrate neural interfaces, restore biolink integrity. He worked with practiced efficiency, replacing damaged sections, running diagnostics on the neural pathways, ensuring every system was properly integrated and functional. The chest plating required particular attention. The neural seal that connected the armor to the wearer's physiological systems had been disrupted, which meant he needed to carefully realign the bioconductive pathways and restore the interface integrity. David adjusted the chest plating with precise movements, his hands working through the intricate process of reconnecting neural pathways and ensuring proper calibration. It was delicate work that required both technical knowledge and careful attention to detail. When the diagnostic finally showed green across all systems, armor restored to full functionality, biolink integrity at 100%, all safety protocols verified, David felt the satisfaction of a job well done. "There we go," he said, logging the completion. "Good as new." What David didn't know was that he just completed the Kethara Velshara, the bonding of protection, an ancient Kyrathi ritual that marked the formation of a life bond between warrior and mate. The Kyrathi warrior who owned the armor arrived at the maintenance bay the following morning to collect her gear. Commander Veska Thrain was a legend among coalition forces, 15 years of distinguished service, multiple commendations for valor, and a reputation for both tactical brilliance and absolute dedication to her duty. She was tall even by Kyrathi standards, with long pointed ears that carried scars suggesting extensive combat experience, and violet eyes that assessed everything with sharp intelligence. David was finishing the final inspection when she entered. He looked up from his diagnostic tablet with professional courtesy. "Commander Thrain, your armor's ready. I've completed all repairs and run full diagnostics. Everything's functioning within optimal parameters." Veska stared at him with an expression David couldn't quite read, shock mixed with something that might have been disbelief or alarm. "You." She started, then stopped, clearly struggling with what to say. "You repaired my armor, personally." "Yes, ma'am. Standard protocol for bio-integrated systems requires certified specialist handling. The damage was to your neural interface systems, so I followed proper procedures for." "You adjusted the chest plating," Veska interrupted, her voice tight. "You restored the neural seal. You completed the biolink calibration." "Yes, that was necessary to ensure proper functionality." Veska's hand moved to her chest, pressing against where the armor's neural interface would connect when worn. "You completed the Kethara Velshara. You bonded my armor." David blinked, confused. "I repaired it, yes. Is there a problem with the work? I can review the diagnostics if—" "You do not understand," Veska said, her voice carrying something between alarm and resignation. Among my people, the armor is not merely equipment. It is extension of the warrior's body and spirit. The chest plating, where it connects to the heart and neural pathways, this is considered the most intimate connection. She looked at him directly. When a warrior allows another to handle this portion of their armor, to adjust the chest plating and restore the neural seal, it is acknowledgement of absolute trust. It is ritual reserved only for bonded mates, those who have pledged to protect each other, to share battle and life. David felt his stomach drop. I didn't know. It wasn't in the technical manual. I was just following standard repair procedures. Which is precisely why the bond is considered valid, Veska said. You did not perform the ritual seeking to create a bond. You simply did what was necessary to properly repair my armor, treating it with the care and precision that such intimate work requires. That character, that dedication to doing the work correctly without understanding its cultural significance, is exactly what makes the Kethara Velshara binding. Over the following hours, as word spread through the coalition base that Commander Veska Thrain, one of the most formidable warriors in Kyrathi's service, had inadvertently bonded with a human mechanic, reactions ranged from shock to disbelief to concern. David was summoned to meet with the base commander and Kyrathi cultural liaison to discuss the situation. Corporal Chen, I need you to understand the magnitude of what's happened, the cultural liaison, an older Kyrathi male named Kelvar, explained. The Kethara Velshara is not merely tradition. It is recognized as legally and spiritually binding by Kyrathi law. When you completed the armor bonding ritual, you created an obligation that cannot be simply dismissed. What kind of obligation? David asked, though he suspected he didn't want to know the answer. Protection and partnership, Kelvar explained. By bonding her armor, you have declared yourself responsible for Commander Veska's well-being in battle and life. She, in turn, is bound to protect you and acknowledge you as her chosen partner. Among our people, this is considered equivalent to a marriage proposal, one that has already been accepted through the act of allowing the armor bonding. David tried to process this, but she didn't allow it. I just repaired her armor following standard protocols. She wasn't even there. Which makes the situation unprecedented but not invalid, Kelvar said. The ritual's validity comes from the quality of the work and the care taken with her armor's most intimate systems. You demonstrated the exact competence and dedication that the Kethara Velshara was designed to identify, someone who can be trusted with a warrior's vulnerability. The base commander, a pragmatic human colonel named Morrison, intervened. Setting aside the cultural complexities, what are the practical implications? Can this bond be dissolved? No, Kelvar said flatly. Once the Kethara Velshara is completed, it is permanent. Attempting to deny or break the bond would disgrace Commander Veska in ways that would end her military career and damage her standing in Kyrathi society. Veska herself was summoned to the meeting. She entered with the same controlled composure, though David noticed tension in her posture. "Commander, you're being placed in an impossible situation," Colonel Morrison said. "A bond you never intended with someone you don't know, created through innocent cultural misunderstanding. We can work with Kyrathi High Command to find some solution." "There is no solution," Veska said quietly. "The bond exists. It is valid by our laws and customs. Corporal Chen completed the ritual through competent care for my armor, which demonstrates exactly the character the Kethara Velshara was designed to identify." She looked at David. "I do not blame you for this situation. You acted from professional duty, not cultural manipulation. But the bond exists, and we must both decide how to honor it." Over the following weeks, David and Veska navigated the awkward reality of being bound by alien law to protect and stand beside each other when they'd been strangers days before. They met regularly, not as romantic partners, but as people trying to understand an obligation neither had chosen. David learned about Kyrathi culture, about what the armor bond meant beyond just legal obligation. Veska learned about human perspectives on relationships and commitment. Your people choose partners through courtship and emotional connection, Veska observed during one conversation. We Kirathi recognize bonds through demonstrated action and trust. You earned my trust by caring for my armor without knowing the significance. That is considered more reliable than words or romantic gestures. But we don't know each other, David pointed out. How can there be real trust when we're strangers bound by accident? The bond begins with the armor, Veska explained. What comes after is our choice. We can honor it with mere formality, or we can choose to build genuine partnership. The ritual creates the foundation. We decide what structure to build upon it. David discovered that Veska, beneath her warrior reputation, was thoughtful and surprisingly uncertain about relationships. She dedicated her life to military service, never pursuing personal bonds because she believed no one would accept being partnered with someone whose life was defined by combat. You treated my armor, the extension of who I am as a warrior, with respect and competence, Veska said. You saw it as something worthy of careful attention rather than just equipment to be processed. That is rare, even among my own people. For his part, David found himself respecting Veska's dedication, intelligence, and the loneliness she'd accepted as the price of her chosen path. When enemies of the coalition learned that the formidable commander Veska had bonded with a human mechanic, some saw David as leverage, a vulnerability they could exploit. An attempted kidnapping was thwarted by Veska herself, who demonstrated exactly why the armor bond mattered. She would protect her bonded partner with the same ferocity she brought to any battle. The incident changed something between them. David realized that Veska's protection wasn't just ritual obligation, it was genuine commitment to someone she'd come to value. And Veska saw that David didn't fear her reputation or resent the bond, but instead approached their situation with the same careful competence he'd shown her armor. When the Kirathi High Command formally recognized the bond and invited them to complete the traditional ceremony acknowledging their partnership, David and Veska faced a choice. Accept the bond fully and build a genuine relationship, or maintain it as mere formality. I fixed your armor, David said during a quiet moment before the ceremony. I didn't know I was bonding myself to you. But I've gotten to know you over these weeks, and I've discovered that the bond, accidental as it was, might be the best thing that could have happened to both of us. Veska studied him with the same careful attention she applied to tactical assessments. You are not what I expected in a bonded partner, but you are exactly what I needed, someone who sees past the warrior to the person, who treats vulnerability with care, who approaches challenge with competence rather than complaint. She extended her hand in the Kirathi gesture of partnership. I choose to honor this bond not from obligation but from genuine respect for who you are. Will you do the same? David took her hand. I will. Not because ritual demands it, but because I've come to value you as a person worth standing beside. The ceremony that followed was a blend of Kirathi tradition and human acknowledgement, recognizing a bond that began through innocent repair work, but became something genuine through choice and mutual respect. Some bonds are forged through careful courtship and romantic pursuit, some through shared hardship and mutual benefit, and some are triggered through innocent competence, when a mechanic repairs armor with such care that he unknowingly completes an ancient bonding ritual, proving that the most lasting partnerships sometimes form when we simply do good work without knowing we're being tested. The human who fixed an alien warrior's armor discovered that competence, care, and genuine respect could create bonds stronger than intention.